I became a self-employed freelancer able to work from anywhere in the world in less than 4 months without any savings or freelancing experience. And today I'm going to tell you exactly how I broke free from my 9-to-5 location-dependent lifestyle completely in less than a year, over 9 years ago. I'm sharing what I did and what I did not do to make both cash and clients as fast as fucking possible, and how I can help you take the first step to do the same thing. Step inside Hexotica, the inner sanctum of creative rebels crafting alternative lifestyle freedom, self-reliance, and a life that's anything but ordinary. I'm your host, Christine Rice, and this is episode 17. Hello, lovely guts. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope that you had a lovely Halloween. I certainly did. I'm still recovering from my Halloween. Halloween this year was the best one I ever spent in Australia. It has taken many, many decades for Halloween to become a big thing here in Australia. When I first arrived 25 years ago, there was hardly anyone doing anything for it. You would go to the indie shop in September, even late mid-October, no Halloween decorations being sold, no Halloween decorations on shops, and no trick-or-treaters happening on Halloween nights in even the busiest suburbs. But thanks to social media and 25 years later, things have gotten so big here. We have finally embraced all of Halloween on a full scale. And for the first time in 25 years, I enjoyed a haunted house experience here in Melbourne at the Luna Park, which is like this vintage carnival amusement park where all the roller coasters and rides were made in the 1930s. Well, actually, there's just one roller coaster, and it was made in the 1930s. So it's all old wood and rickety. It's a beautiful little amusement park, kind of like a really nice carnival. And they held a Halloween night there for adults on the Thursday night. They had a haunted house. Oh my God, they did such a great job with decorating it. Highly, highly recommend if you're in Australia, especially if you're in Melbourne, go to the Luna Park Halloween night. Go to the adults one too. A friend of mine went when there was kids, and she said the kids made it not so much fun. So go on the night when there's no kids. And then, so that was my Thursday night, right? Ran my freaking feet off that night. And then on Friday night, the actual Halloween, was a Halloween 50th for my partner's sister in the beautiful beachside town of Rye, where they had rented an Airbnb with their family, and we had costumes and dinner and spa party all night and lots of dancing in stilettos. That was also super fun. And then the next night, I had a friend who had a 40th, and we had their Halloween party, and they went all out. This was my goth friends, by the way. So totally gothed out house. She created an actual thunderstorm with lightning and clouds in her hallway. It was magnificent. The details that she put into it, chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. And I feel really, really grateful to have friends who put that much effort into a party, and it was just so much fun. But I'm still recovering. And this podcast, though it probably doesn't matter to you if you're listening to this later, but it came out a few hours late because I got to work yesterday morning. I got to work, like I woke up, right? Because I work from home, and I was so excited to make this content. I had this, all this digital nomad story that I'm going to tell to you, all planned out. And then my computer crashed. And it was also a holiday here in Australia, but it was the Melbourne Cup, which is a horse race. And I'm not super enthusiastic about horse racing, so I don't tend to do anything. And it was super rainy here as well. So I'm saying that because anytime there's a holiday, my internet is super slow. I live in a A-frame cottage in the forest, and we get really shoddy internet here, especially when it rains and especially when there's a holiday. In fact, sometimes I would know that it's a holiday because the internet was slowed down. But those two factors yesterday made it impossible for me to work. I had to get my partner's help to completely rejig my computer. We had to clean up a bunch of old files, install a bunch of things. It was just like the universe said, Christine, you ain't working today. Just take the day out. And I mention all this because if you are running any kind of online business, sometimes you can wake up with the best intentions, with the best energy. And the universe says, oh, no, you don't. You ain't working today. You're going, I mean, if the universe is a black woman, I guess, but that's how I always see it. Is like the universe gets in the way and says, you ain't working today. She's a Southern black woman, apparently. And you're going to have to learn how to keep yourself calm and regulate your nervous system. Because honestly, when you come across serious problems in your business, which you will again and again, your main job as a business owner, I'm just telling you right now, is to stay calm and to regulate your nervous system. You cannot let these things throw you off course to where you're self-sabotaging, drinking, overeating, writing the day off, saying that you're not going to do anything. Your job is to stay calm, and your job is to know exactly how to stay calm. So that's what I did. I did all my best staying calm activities. I did what I could to stay calm. And now we are making the podcast a few hours late, but that's not too bad. A few hours late I can deal with. It's going to happen. So that's what happened with me. Now let's get into today's topic. I'm going to be sharing how I became fully self-employed within 4 months. I want to share this for my travel bug lovers out there. If you're like me, and one of the big reasons why you even began an online business idea, like why you even are dabbling in this, why you started, is so that you could travel and see the world, then this episode is for you. I'm going to go step by step how I did this and how I made it possible and what I believe is the fastest route if seeing the world and working remotely is your main goal. So if you are someone who is maybe not married, or you're married to a travel bug partner, or you don't have children or pets yet, and you're itching to get out there and see the world, then this episode is for you. It is for you if you promised yourself that you will have traveled to a certain number of countries by a certain age, which is what I did. It is for you if you dream of leaving your windowless cubicle job and your 30-minute lunch breaks, air quotes, under breaks, because sorry, but it's very difficult to actually have a break and eat in 30 minutes. I don't know where it came from. I only discovered it when I came to Australia. Maybe it became a thing since I got here. I don't know. Americans, let me know. Do you still have 60-minute breaks only? Because I never had a 30-minute break until I came to Australia, even with the most part-time jobs I had in the US. But that was 25 years ago, so I might be outdated. And it is for you if you have been avoiding romantic commitments or even getting a cat or a dog. If that's you, then you know that you have a serious condition in life. You don't just have the travel bug. You've got a serious case of needing to see the whole fucking world before it burns travel lust. I hear your caged bird song if that's you. I know how it feels to be trapped in your life and to want to travel so bad. So that is exactly how I felt when I first started my second business. A series of circumstances came together, but there was just this overwhelming feeling of feeling trapped and needing to get out and to be free. So if that's you and you're just dying to travel, then my good news for you is that sometimes when it feels like everything is falling apart, that's actually when things are coming together in the best way. And it never feels good when it's actually happening, right? It's only in the retrospection that when we look back, that we see why something happened. We see the goodness around it. So that's what happened to me, because it's really funny how you can lose your job, you can get your heart smashed open, and you can hit 40 years old when one divine year comes along in your life, and then suddenly you're checking off half of your life bucket list of dreams in 1 year. And that is exactly what happened to me. So I don't like to call it hitting rock bottom because that's just too fucking depressing, right? I like to reframe this year as a reckoning. And reframing is it's a survival skill, right? So being able to go back and reframe things that happened in your past and the narratives that you're telling yourself that might be getting in your way now or in the way of the future that you want. You need to go back and learn how to reframe them to see what the good in them was, or to be able to at least release the shame or the feelings of failure that you might still be holding around them. And that is what I covered in episode 1 if you want to go back and hear my 10-step strategy on how to do that. It's really important to clear that shit out of the way in order to move forward. So the way that I like to see this year is it's when life is crashing around all around you, right? I see it as the universe's way of kicking you into your next badass evolution. So here's what I was dealing with at 40, which kicked me into my next badass evolution, made all these amazing things possible for me with sheer reluctance, like no planning. So I had a side hustle handmade jewelry business that was not profitable because I loved to travel too much to stay chained to my desk. And one of the reasons why I needed to travel so much was because I had family back home in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US, the country that I grew up in, that I had left years ago. I had left because I had read too much Noam Chomsky and I knew where that shit show was going. Okay. I was disillusioned very early on. I'd voted for Ralph Nader and I knew that a third party didn't have a chance in hell in the US. And I was concerned about the future. And then also I had loathing for this 9-to-5 conventional lifestyle that I had working for the man, especially things like my boss's business coach with this disgustingly cigarette smoking leather jacket who basically used to bully me in that 30-minute measly little lunch break because at that time I was fully vegetarian and he used to make these stupid bacon jokes. Like it was just, yeah, I used to get bullied by this asshole in the lunch breaks. And I also was living in a 2-bedroom apartment that had a fairly sizable rent to pay. And I had no savings because of the sizable rent that I was paying. And I had a broken heart from another failed relationship. And that was the main reason why I was living in this 2-bedroom apartment by myself with the sizable rent to pay on my own. So it was a lot. Lost the job, dealing with the breakup, living alone. It was a time for reckoning. And when I look back at this now, I see it as a necessity. But necessity is a fantastic fire that forces you to take action, right? And so take action is what I did. So here are the 5 steps that I took to become self-employed within 4 months and a digital nomad in less than a year. If I think about it, it was probably only about 9 months from the time that all this shit happened to me. So the first step that I took was I took an online course to become a freelance social media manager. Social media is, in my opinion, the best freelance digital nomad opportunity to get work from anywhere in the world and work remote. Most small business owners hate doing it. So if you enjoy social media, especially if you've got ADHD, then it is a perfect fit. So I use my credit card, and I do not recommend doing that, to buy an online do-it-yourself course. If I had not already had 8 years of experience doing the social media for my own business and my job, I would have definitely spent a bit more to get mentoring as well. But luckily, I already knew enough about the social media work itself. But I knew nothing about freelancing or working with clients. So the course taught me everything I needed to know about that trickier side of things. It taught me how to get clients, how to onboard them, and what to charge. I learned how to invoice clients, how to manage boundaries and communication issues, which is super important, and what to put in my contracts and even how to have the contracts, like the templates, all the things that I needed to know how to do that. So doing the social media for business work itself was not difficult to learn. Like there are plenty of free resources online and stuff like that, right, to do the social media. but it's harder to make the right choices with how to get clients and how to become a freelancer and how to do service providing when you've always been an employee. So that course took me about 6 weeks to complete. And I was lucky that my former employer became my first client because my role as the company's social media manager was one that they still required. They just didn't need the other roles that I had been fulfilling at that time. So that was the first step. So the second thing I did was I networked like a crazy woman and I found local clients. I overcame my ugly duckling imposter syndrome and fears around networking, and I got my ass to any and all of the local network events that I could possibly attend. I had my schedule packed because I knew that the fastest way to get a client was in person. In person, people are able to use all their intuitive senses to tell if you're a decent person and not some weirdo that smells like cat piss, right? Because keep in mind, even though you may get clients who live in your hometown, all the work you are going to do as a freelance social media manager or service provider, it's going to be online, right? And you do not have to agree to do any in-person work if you don't want to. Most biz owners don't need you to. And you don't have to agree to do it. In fact, if you do agree to do any in-person meetups or coffee shops or team meetings, charge for it because you need to charge for your time. That's taking you away from time you could be finding other clients, doing work for other clients at home, right? So always charge if you're going to do anything in person. But the majority of clients as a social media manager or freelance service provider are not going to require that you ever see them again. So you meet them once and then for years you could be working with them online and never see them again. And that was the case with me with quite a few of the clients that I met. So I really, really lucked out at this very, very first event that I ever went to, my very first networking events. I got 2 clients because I happen to know more about Instagram than the speaker did. So when the questions came up that she couldn't answer, I volunteered. She was like a fruit seller who had had a lot of success with Instagram, but there are many different aspects about it that she couldn't answer because she was only ever doing it for her own business, right? And I had been doing it for my own business as well as my past job, and I had been like really geeking out on marketing in general for that year. So I was able to answer these questions. And I will never forget how people were literally lined up to ask me questions at the end of that event. They were asking me all these questions and lined up to speak to me and not the speaker. It was, what a fucking know-it-all, right? But I'm so grateful for my past self-confidence to do that because not only had I never really gone to networking events before, but I was there with this kind of like desperation almost. Like I needed to find clients. I needed money. I needed this to work. And somehow that gave me the confidence to stand up, answer questions, stay calm, and get 2 clients. So it was a little bit of luck, but also there's gumption in that. And that's where I find going to network events, you do require that gumption to get out there and speak to people in person and to pitch yourself and tell them what you do and how you can do it for them. I would recommend going to like as many as you can pack into a week. You need to spend most of your time going to network events. Don't worry about what's online. I wrote a whole blog post on this if you want to get the details on how to get clients. But that is how I did it. I went to local events first. So the third thing is that I went full-time within 4 months. And here's how I did that. My 4th client came along through my personal friend network because I was telling everybody that I needed clients, right? And so when that 4th client came along, then I was set. All my sacrifices had finally paid off. I had subletted my 2nd bedroom and I'd moved my office into the garage. I had been living off little instant noodles, cheap food, coffee, and this $4 wine that I got from Audi that was called Precious, which you can believe me, I did refer to as my precious when I needed to drink to take the stress off. And many, many weeks of zero social contact, hardly leaving the house except to go to those networking events. It was just work, 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 right? I had achieved that solid base of clients on monthly retainers. And this is why, again, I think that social media management is the best thing for traveling the world, because unlike a lot of other service providers like virtual assistants or other type of project-based service providers like graphic designer, most social media managers will work on a retainer, which means that you can get into 3, 6 to 12-month contracts with a client and just continuously do their social media on a rolling basis. It's not project to project, right? Social media never ends. So when you get a number of clients on retainer, you're kind of set. And unlike most service providers, you've got much more of a predictable, reliable, stable income. So if you're charging $500 to $1,000 per client, you don't need a lot of clients before you're able to live, right? And depending on where you're going to travel, you don't even need as many as if you were living at home. Like, it's much, much cheaper to go live in Cambodia, Bali, Thailand, or Vietnam than it is to live in Australia or in the US, right? So it's very possible that once you get a set number of clients, that you can make this happen. So it took me 4 months, and that was when I was able to comfortably pay my bills and resubscribe to my Netflix and start getting my nails done again. It was great. It was about 4 months. Step 4 was 9 months later, I packed up all of my stuff and I moved it into storage. So self-employment had been my dream for so many years during that first business that by the time I finally achieved it in this 4 months, I felt invincible. I wanted as much freedom as possible. Now I was able to work from anywhere in the world. I had unlocked a dream I had wanted for so long. Now I could go and work for weeks in the US with my family. I could go to Bali. I could work anywhere. I didn't need this apartment anymore, right? I wasn't going to wait for anyone anymore. I was so restless and so eager and so proud of myself at this point. So I was definitely not going to continue living in an apartment that I had only moved into because it was close to a job that I no longer had, after a relationship that I no longer needed to recover from in solitude in this apartment. So I made plans to pack everything I owned into storage and ended my lease with glee. Glee, I tell you. And I sold off this big, fancy, expensive bed that I had got for this apartment. I sold off all this stuff and I packed it into as small a storage unit as I could find that was on the east side of Melbourne, closer to where my boyfriend was at the time. I had finally made my dream of becoming completely free of a job and of a location. I was free. And step 5 of my big, beautiful digital nomad dream was I became a pet and house sitting digital nomad. This had been a dream of mine ever since an ad came up on Facebook many, many years before saying you could live in a house for free, taking care of cats. And I just thought that was like the most luscious sounding thing, to live for free around the world, anywhere in the world, taking care of cats. Because at the time I was more of a cat lover than the dog lover that I am now. So I signed on to a site called Trusted House Sitters so that I could work from anywhere in the world and not pay rent. So Trusted House Sitters is where you sit for an extended period of time. We're talking more than a week, more than 2 weeks often, in a house, taking care of the entire house, the yard, the mail, making it look lived in. You know, it's kind of an added security thing for people when they're traveling. But you are taking care of their pets when the pets would otherwise have to, go stay at an expensive kennel or something, right? And you're able to do this for free as a beautiful exchange. It's a really, really good kind of win-win situation. And the reason why I chose Trusted House Sitters over other Australian-based sites was because this one it's truly international. It's still one of the best ones if you want to travel through Europe, Canada, the US, South Africa. Like it's got places all over the world. So I wanted to use that one from the start. Now, it wasn't the most popular one in Australia. The most popular one in Australia, if you're just doing Aussie house sits, or Aussie house sitters. And then there's another one for shorter sits called Pet Cloud. So if you wanted to get paid for taking care of pets, then you would probably go to one of those sites like Pet Cloud. But the thing with those is that it's often for shorter sits. People who are allowing people to live in their home for extended periods of time, they're still paying the mortgages and the utilities, right? So it makes sense that if you are staying in a house for an extended period of time, you're doing it more as an exchange. You're not getting paid to do that. But if it's less than 2 weeks, and especially if it's just a weekend, it's easier to get paid sits because that's not really convenient for someone doing it long term like I was, right? But as it turned out, I didn't even need any of these sits because people tended to just refer me on to their friends, and it got bigger and bigger with the referrals. Toward the end of the time that I was pet sitting, which I did for 16 months in total, I had literally, like, I was getting texts every single day. Like, it was really, really easy to get sits at that point, and I could pick and choose exactly which ones I wanted. People who had had me before were asking me back. So especially around busy times like Christmas, I had just a huge number of houses that I could just pick and go and stay at. And I went to the best ones with my favorite animals. So it became really, really easy very quickly. The demand for pet sitters and reliable, trustworthy sitters at that people refer to their friends is huge. And so even though you might start off with a site, you're going to be, your referrals are going to work really well for you. And that's the same for your service providing as well. Referrals are everything. But when you first get started, you may need to just, put yourself out there. And working with a site like Trusted House Sitters helps people to have that trust right away because it is a paid, you do pay for your membership to become a sitter for the site. And you go through a series of police checks and all of that. But it's actually pretty easy to get onto, and it's really, really a good place to build up a profile, even if you do get free sits through friends or through Facebook groups, because every referral you get there is going to help you get that elusive sit off in Europe or in Paris one day, when you just want to be able to jump on a Zoom call with people and get that. So I'm at that point now. I've got enough referrals on my Trusted House Sitter site that if I want to go and stay in Adelaide, like I did earlier this year, I don't actually have to go and meet the animals or the people in person because I've got such a good, strong referral system and references on my Trusted House Sitter site. So I just get on a Zoom call and we book it in. So that's what I would suggest aiming at. And another thing is I didn't start completely at zero when I started as a pet sitter. I had already in the back of my mind known that I wanted to do this for a while before I went full time as a sitter. So I had done some local sits just down the street where my apartment was to test it out, see if I like it, and to start getting those referrals and those references on the site. So that's what I recommend doing if you are not ready to travel yet, but you think that you want to be a sitter in Europe or in Asia or across the world in a year or two from now. Go ahead and start accepting small sits locally to build up your profiles. And I've got a 25% discount link for Trusted House Sitters that I will leave in the show notes here. So now that I've told you the 5 things that I did to become a self-employed digital nomad within just a year, probably less than a year, let me tell you what I did not do. Because if you're listening to this and you're overcomplicating it in your head, I want to kind of tell you that it's actually a lot more direct than you can imagine. So I did not spend a lot of time creating a fancy website or making business cards, right? You do not really need any of that to get your first clients. You are the best representation of your business. So go to in-person events and meet as many people in person as possible. That's all people really need sometimes, to know that you are a trustworthy or reliable or decent looking person. Okay. Don't spend a lot of time online in your first few years trying to become a service provider. Just get out there and network. And learning how to network is a skill. Next thing I did not do is I did not wait for permission or approval. I gave myself permission to lead myself, and I took risks. My ADHD probably helped me because I'm a bit of a risk taker naturally, but I did not wait for anyone's permission. I didn't tell my clients that I was moving. I didn't tell my family. I didn't wait for their permission, or my boyfriend, or even my housemate, even though I had a lovely housemate toward the end of my stay at that apartment. I just knew I wanted to do it. The next thing is I did not charge for the house and pet sitting services. As I said, I looked for the extended sits where the exchange was even, because you need to remember that with people who have multiple animals, the costs of house maintenance, yard house security, kennels, that all adds up to be quite a lot. So even though they are paying the mortgage and the rent and the utilities for you, and you're living therefore technically free, it is still a service. And you do need to be good at reassuring the pet owners and the house owners that you are taking good care of their little fur babies and their yard, and you're communicating well with them. So it is a service, and you need to treat it as a professional service, even though it is free. The next thing I did not do was ever regret it. In fact, one of the only regrets that I ever had about any of the decisions that I made at that time was that I didn't do more international travel while I had my stuff in storage. I did do a month in Bali, and I went home to the US for, I think it was about 6 weeks. But I mostly did a lot of sits around Victoria's Yarra Valley, which is a beautiful wine region in Australia. It's so beautiful out there. There's cycling trails, wineries. I mean, it's like, to me, the wine regions in Australia are the epitome of all the lusciousness and beauty and wholesomeness of the Australian lifestyle. And if you ever come to Australia, you must go to the wineries, because then you'll have a real taste of just how beautiful this country's lifestyle is. It's so relaxed. It's just so pristine and natural. And the Yarra Valley really encapsulates that lifestyle. And I really, really deeply fell in love with it. And I lived in many, many different places around the Yarra Valley in the time that I was pet sitting. But I think I also just wanted to be closer to my friends. I wanted to be closer to business connections. I was still doing a lot of networking at that time. And I also had my romantic interest living in the Dandenong Ranges. So it was really, really good to be a pet sitter during these first few years of what they call like feast and famine as a freelancer. It kept my monthly expenses really low, which also kept my stress really low. And I was able to focus fully on getting more clients, learning to keep the clients, getting better at my marketing, better at my services, and growing my fledgling business. And I would say that it took about 3 years before things got really stable. Those first 3 years, there was a lot of clients coming and going, which is completely natural when you're new to being a service provider. You don't often see the red flags in new clients that you meet. You might not have very sealed tight contracts. You maybe don't know how to vet clients very well. Your communication might not be as professional or as polished as it will get when you've been doing this for a long time. There are many, many different things that you can learn through experience. And as I said earlier, I learned all of this through do-it-yourself courses and Facebook groups. I didn't have a mentor to help me with all those things. Had I had a mentor, I probably wouldn't have suffered so much in those feast and famine years. I would have known exactly what steps to take to help me to protect myself a bit from some of the pitfalls that I fell into. So if this sounds really good to you and you are ready to become self-employed and a digital nomad, then this is what I can help you with, because I had been doing this for 9 years and I learned so many things about how to manage clients, how to keep clients, how to avoid the bad clients, how to keep the great clients. Toward the end, I had the most wonderful, fantastic clients that I loved working with. I had very, very airtight, sealed tight practices, protocols, boundaries, contracts, and I was also charging quite a lot toward the end. I say toward the end because I no longer do social media management. I am now a mentor to help you become a social media manager or digital nomad. So if you're seeking a highly experienced, unconventional, and neurodivergent friendly mentor to help you escape the fluorescent lit hellscape of Monday mornings pretending to be interested in your coworker's batshit boring weekend recounting of where she took her horde of kids and what they ate and how little Billy smeared poop on the walls, then let's work together to get you your first freelance client. Your first step toward freedom. Being able to take half of every Wednesday off to avoid the weekend crowds at the mall, or to sleep in till 9 a.m. and start your day at 10 if you want to, or designing an alternative lifestyle where you can fire whiny clients if they are a pain in the ass, right? All while exploring the canals of Amsterdam in the afternoons, or riding a bike to the Buddhist temples of Sukhothai in Thailand, or meeting fellow digital nomads while sipping beers on a hotel rooftop overlooking the glittery evening river lights in India's most romantic city, Udaipur. So if that sounds really good to you, then let's work together for 12 weeks to turn you into a self-employed freelance digital nomad, little signet. Hexotica's Swan Agency Freelance Service Provider Mentoring Program will get you there. If you're tired of watching everyone else build their dream business, or if you're wondering if it's too late for you, it's not. Just remember, I was 40 before I transformed my entire life in less than a year. Anyone at any age can do this, so long as they don't have dementia or are living in an old folks' home, right? And the Swan Transformation Marketing Strategy Agency Program is designed to do exactly that. Over the course of 12 weeks, I will work with you one-on-one to help you get your first clients, to make those contracts your first offers, to get out there and to learn how to network, to learn how to communicate with clients, how to package your services and your products, how to think about the future so that you are growing, how to safeguard yourself from bad clients or from financial hardship, and how to navigate in this world with AI, because social media management has changed with the advent of AI. So if you are interested in learning about the Swan Transformation Marketing Strategy Agency Program, then click the link below in the show notes and apply now. This program was built for bold, brilliant, unconventional women and gender diverse creators who are done trading time for crumbs and who are ready to rise as confident, in-demand service providers. When you apply, you'll learn the same step-by-step roadmap that I followed to turn your creative brain into cash flow. No experience required. No holding back on the pros and cons on my end. And definitely no, I'm too old for this nonsense. This is your chance to claim freedom, financial independence, location independence, self-reliance, and the fierce satisfaction of being your own damn boss. So click the link in the show notes to apply for the Swan Agency now and start building the business that proves everyone wrong about you, especially that little voice in your head that says that you can't do it, right? Age and experience are not a barrier when you decide to start your own business. Only your mindset can stop you. So set yourself up to see the world before the greedy billionaires destroy it, right? And if you're not sure what you would want to do as a service provider or digital nomad, then I've also got something for you. You can sign up to my Hexotic as Fuck travel newsletter for weekly digital nomad ideas delivered straight to your inbox. This will help you to understand what is out there that you are able to do, and it is designed by skill set. So each email is focused on what creative skill set you may have, and what job may align with that. So if you are a visual learner, or if you're a writer, or if you are someone that works with people or with your hands, I have designed every email to find what digital nomad idea might work just for you. And it will give you the opportunity to see how I might be able to help you to become that service provider and digital nomad. And there's lots of little tips and links in there on how to do the traveling itself, from pet sitting to how to get residencies in different countries as well. Lots and lots of ideas for you to explore. So you can sign up for the Hexotic as Fuck travel newsletter by going to travel.hexotica.link. Become a digital nomad and work from anywhere in the world. Learn the ways to earn money as you travel as a content creator, affiliate marketer, or social media manager. So thank you so much for watching today or listening, however it is that you're consuming the podcast. And if you have any questions about becoming a social media manager, doing the work, becoming a digital nomad, or a pet sitter, or in what it's like to live in Australia as an American, don't be shy to hit me up with some questions. My DMs are always open and I'm always happy to help. Thank you so much for listening. And until next week, have a great week. Bye.